right. Hi, everyone.
Hello.
Hi, this is Inquisitorious Sinbin, aka Larissa. If you're on my channel, chances are you know you've been here before, but this is my husband. He is new to being on this streaming channel that we've got here. So,
And to streaming in general.
yeah, into streaming in general. So basically what we're going to have in a couple of minutes here, we are going to start talking about the new Ahsoka series. Since obviously the first episode hasn't come out yet, we're going to be talking a lot about like speculation and what we'd like to see, and then also a lot about Star Wars Rebels, since you know the two are very linked, which is good. Can you tell that we maybe like Star Wars Rebels in this household?
Star Wars in general, but yeah.
Yeah.
Specifically one character.
Hey, man, it's the show, but
It's mostly...
you're not wrong. All right.
We don't have a Hera shelf.
No, but I do have Hera figures.
Yes.
And look at this. This is... So our podcast is called To Find a Jedi because there's an episode at the end of the Clone Wars. Well, I mean, it's not the end, but one of the season finales where Ahsoka's, on trial and she gets kicked out of the Jedi... Well, I mean, she leaves the Jedi Order. And the episode before that is called To Catch a Jedi, when she's on the run. But this is all about finding a Jedi. We're looking for this boy. We found him, guys. The search is over. We found Ezra. I have wanted posters here. Fun story. I actually am insane enough about this show that I was in an airport, flying somewhere. I don't remember. I think to Italy. And I saw this in the airport, and I decided to buy it. So this is just from the era of when Star Wars Rebels was actually airing. They put out like these like books that have like big old posters and like games, and they have like comic books and stuff in them, and like little factoids. So yeah, this was a very fun era. It was a very popular magazine in Europe and not so much here in the US. So I think Germany got like an entire year more of this magazine than the United States did. And they finally recently...
Well, you also have that poster from that.
Yes, if you look back there, there's a Jedi Con that took place in 2014 in Germany, and we have the poster, and I have a t-shirt that matches too. So, hi, if any of you are from Germany, congrats on your love of Star Wars Rebels. That's awesome, guys.
Yeah.
And they did very recently, like they finished translating the rest of those comics, and you can like buy the book that has like all of the comics compiled, so you don't have to like collect the individual magazines anymore.
So they put together an omnibus.
Yeah, exactly. An omnibus, which I forget is a real thing in comics, but it's been a couple of minutes, so why don't we dive into why we're really here?
Yep.
All right, guys, the Ahsoka show is next week, and I just kind of wanted to get started with asking you how you felt when you saw the trailer.
I'm excited. I'm like cautiously excited, but I am excited.
Yeah, but okay. So when the trailer aired, it aired at Star Wars Celebration in London.
Right, which was when?
It was pretty soon after I started my new job, so I think it was like mid-April, somewhere around there. Celebration is typically in April.
Was it before or after Mandalorian season 3?
It was before.
Okay.
I think. You know what? I don't even really know. It was after Andor. So
Right.
They had Andor panels, but you were asleep because it was happening in London, so it started really, really early our time. So
and I don't have the level of dedication that you do.
I was getting up at like 5 o'clock in the morning and going to watch the live stream from Star Wars Celebration. So I got to see this like as it happened, and it was insane. So it goes through a couple of shots. It's mostly like, obviously it's focused on Ahsoka and like some creepy mystic Jedi stuff, which is very neat. But also we have Chopper.
Yep.
We have Hera.
We have Hera.
We have
Sabine.
Yeah, Sabine is very notable in this.
Ezra, or
He's a little like hollow thing.
Right.
He's on a hollow disc in this, so we're getting a lot of Rebels character, and then maybe the eighth brother, Marek, is maybe the eighth brother. So that would be a whole lot of Rebels characters.
If it's not the eighth brother, it's a weird costume choice.
It is. Look, I know there's a lot of controversy on this and everything, but we have a very strong stance here in our household about.
It would be weird.
It would be, in my opinion,
adapt that look to a live action character and not have it be the same guy.
I'm with you. And the voice actor, apparently, when they released the trailer and like had like tweets about it and stuff, the voice actor for the eighth brother was like liking everything. That doesn't necessarily mean anything. I think he's got that big Knight's mask. It's got to be, and obviously in this household we're very like we care a lot about our Inquisitors. So
yeah, we want them to be in things.
Yeah, we would like for them to be in things.
And if they can do it, accomplish something.
Well, we had a book very recently where they did.
They did.
They did it. Hey guys, an Inquisitor did it.
Yeah.
I'm okay if he doesn't succeed because I don't know who he could kill in this that wouldn't be like super upsetting.
No,
and
I know.
He's not gonna beat Ahsoka. Come on, guys.
No, he's not. No, and I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, let him get some blood on a blade every once in a while.
Hey, it cauterizes it. That's not gonna happen.
Let him vaporize some blood on a blade every once in a while.
Oh yeah, for sure. I would just, here's where my bar is set. This is getting a little ahead of ourselves here, but my bar is set at like I would like for him to survive the first 2 episodes.
Oh yeah! Wow.
Yeah. If we could go 2 episodes of a show without an Inquisitor getting stabbed, that would be awesome.
Absolutely eating it. Yeah.
Honestly, they don't have a good track record for not dying in the first thing that they appear in. Ninth sister survived into the 3rd thing that she was in. So good for Masana. Good for Masana. What a survivor she is. Yeah. Except when she dies. Spoilers for a game that's been out for 2 months or something like that.
Oh yeah, Survivor.
Yes, exactly. That was
yeah. Gotcha.
That's the joke.
I was trying to remember.
No.
I'm not good with the numbers.
Yeah. Okay, so
it's not a tie. Right.
Now we're gonna back up like just a touch here to ask, how did you feel about when they first announced that there would be an Ahsoka show?
I really liked I started off kind of in. Let's see, Clone Wars came out. I remember watching it while I was still living at home, so that would have been when I was like mid-teens.
Yeah, do you want to know what
late teens?
My first experience with the Clone Wars was, and seeing Ahsoka for the first time. I was a freshman in high school.
Okay, so I would have.
Yeah. I was a freshman in high school, and I went to go see the movie with my high school girlfriend. It was like one of the first things we went to go do together and it was in theaters.
The Clone Wars movie?
Yeah. Yeah, like the first one, like with Jabba's son and everything, that was in theaters.
Oh, that's right. I never saw it in theaters. When I started watching Clone Wars, I was like, well, this character's a little annoying, but then they majorly made her like a really important and good part of the Clone Wars. And I finished the Clone Wars thinking, especially her whole arc at the end where she leaves was really awesome and one of my favorite arcs. I won't say best, but it's pretty subjective, but one of my favorite arcs. Yeah. I can't even sit here and try to think of all the arcs in the Clone Wars.
No, Mortis stands out.
Yeah.
Umbara stands out.
Yeah.
That last one with the inhibitor chips. But hey, Ahsoka's a big part of 2 of those 3 that we just listed.
Yeah.
And the Realm Jedi arc.
But she grew on me quite a bit and became one of my favorite characters. And then seeing her again in Rebels was really good. And then we saw a live action version of her in season 2.
Yes, I think she appeared in season 2.
Season 2.
It could have been late season 1.
And that was before they announced the show.
That's correct.
Right, because so I was excited.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was a natural step after having her in The Mandalorian.
Yeah, I mean, of all the like characters outside of the main titles, what do you call it? The number?
The Skywalker saga.
Yeah, of all the characters outside of the Skywalker saga to have like a show about, it's a pretty easy pick.
Yeah, I think so. I would agree with that. And like, kind of another thing that you touched on a little bit is something that like we just started rewatching Rebels recently. I hadn't rewatched it since I watched it the first time, which was like pretty much as it was coming out.
Yeah,
it was as season 2 was coming out. Season 1 was out already. So when we first get introduced to Ahsoka, she's like a 14-year-old, and she acts like a 14-year-old. And I think so. I would have been about Ahsoka's age at the time. So, to me, it was like kind of like whatever, like understandable, right? For you were a little older, so she was like annoying to you.
Well, I was also an idiot teenage boy.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
So that's why she was annoying. But I'm sure I was way more obnoxious IRL than she was. But again, like I think the fact that they added a lot, like so much more depth to her character, like after they introduced her.
Of course. So I kind of, when we're rewatching Rebels, I'm going through the same thing with Ezra. So obviously Ezra plays it seems like they're going to be looking for Ezra and everything in this series. When I first watched Rebels, I was a 20-year-old. I don't think most 20-year-olds have super high opinions of 14-year-olds. So like, it was kind of like, yeah, this kid's kind of a little shit.
He's annoying.
He's annoying.
Yeah.
But watching it now as a 28-year-old, I'm like, oh my god, he's a child. Like he's just
being further removed from it is helpful.
Well, we're almost like, I mean, a lot of our friends are parents. We're not, and we will never be. But a lot of our friends are, and like I almost like feel more of like a relation to like Kanan and Hera, because I'm like, oh, okay, like I can see like this kid needs a mentor and everything like that. It's like I'm a lot less harsh than I was the first time I was watching it as a 20-year-old who's like too close to it, and it's like, oh god, teenagers are so annoying. I am 20 years old. So I'm not a teenager anymore.
That's the thing. That's exactly what it is. That I'm like annoyed by seeing the things that I hate about myself in a character. But now that I'm 30, it's not. I don't see myself in that character anymore.
Which is an interesting point, because now in Ahsoka, Ezra's going to be my age, and Sabine is going to be your age. So we're catching back up. Like Ahsoka was our age, and we watched her grow as we're growing. Ezra and Sabine were like a little bit behind us, but not much. Yeah. And now we're caught up with them, and we're at the same stage in our life as them. So that's going to be like really interesting to see how that plays out. Like I keep having to remind myself that when we see them again, they're not going to be like teenagers anymore.
Yeah.
Which I think will be interesting to see. I really am looking forward to kind of exploring what an Ezra, like so he was 7 when his parents were taken. So he spent 8 years by himself on the streets.
Yeah.
And then he was with the Rebels crew for like 3-4 years, from 15 to 17. So 2 years. 2.5 years.
When I was reading through the recap, it started at like 4 BBY and ended 0 BBY. Or 1
The show, I thought the show ended in 2 BBY.
It was 2 BBY.
So I thought it was 14.
Right.
Like, well, I mean, because Empire Day happens in the first season, and that's when it's very convenient that Ezra's birthday is the Empire Day. It makes it so easy to keep track of all of this. So it's like basically 14, 15 BBY is when it starts, and then it ends in 2.
Not 14, 15, 4 or 5.
Sorry, yeah, exactly, because it happens 19 BBY. This backwards time scale kills me. He was 15, so it was 4 BBY. So he's with them for like 2.5 years. So he has a family for 2.5 years, and then he's gone to the wilds for the next 11 years, minimum 11 years.
Yeah, pending whatever they tell us in the show.
Well, we know that The Mandalorian Season 3 takes place in 9 BBY. And we know that they're talking about maybe Thrawn being back right there.
Okay.
So I would presume that this takes place fairly soon after that. So like bare minimum, 11 years on his own with Thrawn or wherever the hell they were. That's gonna change his character a lot. Like he barely got to have a family.
Kind of doubled in age.
Yeah, almost. And I mean, like he is like his life has been defined by loneliness. Like he was alone for 8 years with someone for 2.5, and then alone again for another 11 years. That's 19 years of his 28.
Yeah,
he's been on his own. Wow,
it's not good for him.
Yeah, I mean that would be like, I know obviously like the focus of the series is on Ahsoka, but like that would be a very interesting thing to explore, is how that changes him, especially when we look back at like season 1, 2 of Rebels. Like we kind of see this starting in Gathering Forces, right? Like that's the first time that Ezra gets so scared that he's going to lose Kanan to the Inquisitor that he starts to draw on the dark side.
Yes.
Like, I've just found these people who kind of are attached for me and came back for me, and you're about to take them away from me, and it draws him to the dark side. And then we see that like built upon through season 2 and his time with Maul in I think that was early season 3, is his time with Maul and everything. And eventually he does have the strength to say no, and he chooses to be a Jedi, and that's the big thing about the end of season 4, is that he's choosing to make like the Jedi choice, the choice that no one else wants to make. He has to let Kanan go and be one with the Force when he couldn't do that back in season 1, and that's a big thing for his character. Like he was so profoundly lonely, basically. So I think that would be an interesting thing for them to explore. I would like to see that.
I would hope they explore that. Like that's something that I think is, like you said, you know, if they're looking at the source material, which is Rebels, right? Yeah. And pulling from that, then that would be something. Even if, I'm not saying they're going to spend a whole ton of time on it, but that's something that they should address.
Yeah, I mean,
at the very least,
it's very cool that we've only seen like the little like hollow projection of him, and that is what his mindset was when we last left him. And I would love to see the contrast of what happens when these people actually meet up with him. Like how's he been?
Can't imagine he's been great. I don't know.
No, I can't imagine.
Unless him and Thrawn are like the best Sabacc buddies.
You know, I've seen lots of...
They've been playing Sabacc. They're like professional Sabacc players. They've been playing Sabacc against each other in the absolute nothingness of deep space.
Oh my goodness! Thank you for adding that levity to something that was getting incredibly dark.
Either that, or they've just been like at each other's throats for 11 years, which is definitely not going to be great for Ezra.
Or what if Thrawn escaped and Ezra didn't?
Right, there's going to be. I mean, it's not like they're going to have spent 11 years like trapped in the same ship, like Dead Space or something.
Whoa, Dead Space? But Stop.
We almost had that. We almost had Star Wars 1313, but they canceled it. Anyways.
Yeah. Anyway, so one thing that I want to address kind of briefly is having all of these Clone Wars and Rebels characters. We have to kind of talk a little bit about the adaptation side of things, of like going from characters that were strictly animated to being strictly, or I guess not strictly live action, but like, you know, their first time appearing in a live action series. How do you think they did on like nailing the likenesses?
I think they did so far from everything I've seen, they've done a good job. I mean, it's kind of uncanny how good Rosario Dawson is as like as Ahsoka, like being able to capture that kind of like constant introspection almost. It feels like later Ahsoka has, like she's constantly looking inwards. See, so we haven't seen Ezra in the flesh. We've just seen him in the hologram.
There's a tiny little hologram. So
I've looked up the actor that they pulled to play him, and he looks like Ezra.
I agree.
The Sabine actress, she looks like Sabine, like minus the crazy hair. And I think
she has crazy hair.
Yeah, but that's the mean crazy hair, I don't think.
It's orange and purple.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh.
Or are you talking about the actress specifically? Because
I'm talking specifically. Like I looked up pictures of just the actors outside of the Get Up, right? Just to see how much work they had to do to make them look like a character.
Yeah. Okay.
And obviously, so was orange. So, but
fair enough. They also made her Montreals longer, so it seems like they listened to people who are like, "What? Why does she have like Clone Wars length, Leku and Montreals and everything?" And they made them longer than this. So, I mean, they're not like as long as they are in when we see her in Rebels, but like they definitely did improve it.
Yeah, I'm sure they had to strike a balance between like aesthetics and practicality of having all that weight swinging. Like, can you imagine if it was a human that had like 30 extra pounds of weight swinging from the head?
No, I don't disagree.
She would have a neck like George Fisher.
Look, all I'm going to say is that sometimes when they make strange prosthetic choices, maybe it's not because the character's going to do a lot.
Okay. Well,
there's no one like that I could think of. It's fine. And then
they did a good job with the dap. Yeah. Like they all look fairly close, even outside of the makeup and the get up and the hair and stuff like that. They look like the characters.
Yeah. I will be interested to see if Zeb shows up in this because he showed up like very briefly at the end of the last season of Maryland.
It was weird.
I know a lot of people think that the CGI Zeb looks great. I think he looks. I mean, maybe he is kind of
not my cup of Earl Grey.
Okay. Lasat are kind of a strange, like, kind of scary looking thing. But I was like, wow, what a horrible bat creature. But you know what? Maybe that's accurate to how Lasats are supposed to look. I mean,
that's possible.
He just looks so much more charming and huggable in Star Wars.
Again, it's that's where you
and it's
really,
like, oh God, what's that?
You really run into that the issue with moving from animated to realistic. I think the biggest problem is the eye size. When he is an animated Lasat, his eyes are like perfectly round, basically, and much larger. But they gave him human-sized eyes.
No, they're a little big. But not nearly.
Not enough to fix.
No. They're not like it's almost like. It's like, normally the rule with eyes, this is a drawing thing. Hey, I love drawing.
This is not going to be something I know.
So, typically your facial proportions when it comes to eyes are, you have 5 eyes across. So there's like 1 eye length to either side of your eye and then 1 eye length in the middle. When you're drawing things that are cartoony or animation or things like that, and you want the characters to look really expressive, you bend those proportions. So I would say that Zeb definitely does not have those same eye proportions. His eyes are proportionally way larger to his face. And I think maybe in the live action one, I could see your argument where they're still larger than human eyes, but they're not, they're closer to the 5-eye proportion than the animation is. That's fair.
And it doesn't, maybe they do a better job. I don't know. But
could you imagine if they give the live action Zeb the same eyes that they gave to animation Zeb, where they're like solid green with just like the little tiny pupil in the middle? Do you think that would have made it better or worse?
I don't know. Again, I don't know. Listen, I'm not. I am sitting here just spitballing about it. But my gut reaction when I saw live action Zeb was not a comfortable gut reaction. Where normally, watching Rebels and seeing Zeb again recently was like, oh man, I really like this character.
Yeah.
Zeb's a lot of fun. Like he's like hyper aggressive. He's trying to murder this kid the entire time. It's very fun. Yeah. And when I saw live action Zeb, it was kind of like a fight or flight response. So we'll see what they do.
Yeah. Well, I think that they're moving in a better direction than they had been with some characters, perhaps.
Like you mean old fathead Inquisitor.
All right.
I said we were going to make this brief. Boy.
I said we were going to make this brief. Okay, so we already talked about how much we really want to see how Ezra's dealt with being alone. What else are you kind of hoping to see from the series?
I mean, what what Thrawn is up to.
Clearly building a new empire.
Right. So I grew up reading all of the extended universe. Just for context, I grew up reading all the extended universe. Not all. I grew up reading quite a bit of the extended universe books.
Yeah.
Including like all the Imperial Remnant stuff and the Thrawn books.
Much beloved by many.
Yes.
Including myself.
And Thrawn was like a really good villain and a really formidable villain. And I know that as they adapt stuff to be in current canon, they have to make changes, but I want to see what they do with that because, obviously in Rebels, everybody, in most Star Wars stuff, unless it's Andor, people have plot armor.
Unless it's Andor.
Unless it's Andor and everybody, and your favorite character, or not your favorite, but the nice, soft character gets crushed by a crate.
And then they're like, oh, we can save, just kidding.
Exactly, yeah. So unless it's Andor, people have plot armor, and I understand they did that in Rebels, but I would like to see like what Thrawn was able to accomplish and how much they were able to keep his, like how formidable he is supposed to be versus what they like. He was very cool in Rebels, but he didn't get a lot. Like you have to work with a lot. It's just
Yeah, it's a children's television show. That doesn't mean that we love them any less when they get thwarted all the time and are not allowed to do their jobs.
Yeah, I like the whole thing where he's got the whole collection of a lot of art and stuff. Is like very cool villainy.
There's been a lot of controversy about Thrawn's character in this. I am really plugged into the
about what?
I'll explain.
Okay.
So I'm like really plugged into like the Star Wars fandom, obviously.
Yes, that's correct.
So I'm like keeping up.
We're making a podcast.
I'm keeping up with a lot of things that have been going on, and obviously there's been the new Thrawn trilogy of sorts coming out. It's also written by Timothy Zahn, and he has gone back and like after spending. Oh my God, these books came out in the early 90s? I think 89. I think 89 was before our Empire. Yeah, it was before our time. So he's spent like 30 years by the time the first one comes out thinking about Thrawn's character. And so what he does in the new Thrawn series is that like he really, really fleshes him out in a way that is almost like not quite contrary to what we see in Heir to the Empire, but it's definitely different.
Yeah.
And he goes a lot more into like the inner workings of the Chiss ascendancy and everything like that. And for most people who are really into Thrawn, spoiler, I'm not really super into Thrawn. I like his character a lot, but I haven't read those books yet. I've downloaded the audiobooks, so I hope to, but
we listened to the first one.
Yes, we did listen to the first one. So there's been a lot of fleshing him out and everything, and then kind of Dave Filoni's kind of said, well, I like the Heir to the Empire Thrawn. So that's going to be my Thrawn.
Weird.
Which, is like, people love that book. I love that book.
I mean, yeah, but didn't Zahn rewrite it to fit within the confines of what they've done with the new...
Yeah, I mean... it's not like a rewritten Heir to the Empire, so to speak.
No, I mean, you know what I mean. Like,
yeah, his
make his character fit into what they've done.
Yes, exactly. So I mean, I don't know how much of that is true. It could just all be rumor to me. But I do think that's but like that's interesting. I'll be interested to see what Thrawn comes out. If it's like the Rebels Thrawn, if it's like the book Thrawn, if it's like the Heir to the Empire Thrawn. I'll be interested to see that, but I liked his character in Rebels for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I like the Heir to the Empire Thrawn too. I mean, but there's
there's a reason he came back.
Yeah, I mean, for the people who like got super invested and spent a lot of time reading all the old books, like you have had to come to and make peace with the fact that's not there anymore.
Yeah.
So if they reincorporate that in some way, I'm interested to see how they. Managed to do that.
Yeah. I also now we've talked about every character except for Ahsoka since the beginning of this. So I'm gonna put in a vote for what I would like to see for Ahsoka's character. I feel like obviously growing up with the Clone Wars, I love Ahsoka's character, and I love to seeing her grow up and everything. But I feel like the last couple of media that she's appeared in have not challenged her character in a way.
That's, yeah.
I mean, the
That's
Ahsoka
fair.
novel did, because it was kind of like, how do I balance my inner feelings of being a Jedi and wanting to help people with my own survival. Like, I have to stay in hiding. I have to lay low. I'm not a Jedi anymore. That's not my identity.
Yeah.
How do I balance these things? So like, I felt like the Ahsoka novel was a big part of like challenging her.
Yeah.
Not exactly. There wasn't a lot of like exterior conflict. She just like absolutely just like, boom, bye sixth brother. But that book mostly focused on her internal conflict, which I thought was good. That is a difficult thing to portray in, like, it's very easy to portray that kind of thing in books where you have like the internal monologue of the characters going on and everything. It's a little harder to translate that into like television shows, I
Right.
think. Not that it can't be done. Clone Wars certainly did that quite a bit, especially with Anakin's character.
Yeah.
And like when we have like really good expressive acting, like the Kenobi series, like those scenes with Obi-Wan, Ewan McGregor, and Hayden Christensen, those scenes are great at showing like the internal breaking. But like, I feel like that's relatively uncommon for what we've had in Star Wars shows in a while. And I feel like Tales of the Jedi, it's like, well, we're not really learning anything new about Ahsoka. We're kind of just seeing more of the Ahsoka that we already know. I don't think it's really like changing anything that we know about her character. So I would like to see in this show some kind of physical or mental challenge that she has to overcome. That somehow changes her character in some way, or she struggles with it, but then gets through it and everything. Because I feel like Tales of the Jedi, she didn't really have to struggle through anything in that, really. I mean, it was just things that we already knew. No, exactly. Not in The Mandalorian either. Like, and in Rebels, she's very put together, wise, strong, which is all good things. I think that they are qualities of Ahsoka. It's just like, when I think about a character-focused piece of media,
right,
I want to see some kind of change or growth.
The fact that it is about her means that there needs to be more content.
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
I think the concept of being like an unaligned Force user is really interesting. It's something that I'd like to see explored more.
Mm-hmm.
Escaping the dichotomy, that's very. I mean, there's so many things in life that applies to. It's a very potent and easily understandable kind of allegory for different things that everybody deals with. Is being presented with something where there are only two sides, and getting out of that and realizing that there's much more nuance to everything,
mm-hmm.
Is important. And I'd like to see the fact that she is an unaligned Force user the last time we saw her, come into play, and like being able to approach problems from a perspective outside like the rigorous view of a Jedi.
Yeah.
And have just a more like being able to be intuitive about things and not stick to kind of like a rigid dogma, the Jedi were stuck with. I think would be a really interesting thing to do with her character. And there's your conflict, right? Like the fact that she is not stuck with one side or the other, and that she has all these options available to her.
Mm-hmm. I think that there's a fair chance we might get to explore that, because we have other unaligned Force users in this work.
Yes, the Horns.
Yeah. So their names are Balin and Sheen, or Shin. I don't actually know how any of these names are pronounced, so I could be totally wrong when we find out next week.
Yes.
Both Sheen and Balin are described as, well, Balin is described as a former Jedi who left the Order, so like a similar path to Ahsoka. I think that bodes well for what we're talking about, is like two people who left the Order and then kind of diverged and went on two different paths after leaving the Order. So Balin, Sheen, and Merrick, aka probably eighth brother, but we're not allowed to say that yet. I can say it. I will say it. It's the eighth brother, I think. They are all mercenaries.
Oh.
So, I was at first confused too because I'm like, why would you have an inquisitor after the Empire? All of your bosses are dead, dude. Are you freelancing, hunting Jedi? You don't have to do this anymore. Man, you can just leave. If it sucks, hit the bricks.
It's like all those Imperial Japan soldiers that were isolated on those islands that kept fighting the war.
Yeah.
Until the 1950s.
Yeah, yeah, that's exactly Merrick. Precisely, no. So they're all mercenaries. And then we see that Merrick still has a red blade. Like, he's clearly still aligned with the dark side of the Force, as far as we can tell. Whereas Balin and Sheen, or Shin, I don't know, both have orange lightsabers.
I just want Shin.
Like, the body part. But they're both wielding orange lightsabers, and they're looking for this Force map, and we definitely see them. So we see Shin or Sheen shooting Imperials, but then we also see Balin fighting Ahsoka, and we see Shin fighting Sabine.
Yeah.
So it will be interesting, and I think there's a fair chance that we'll explore what you want to see, because we'll have different unaligned Force users. Traditionally, orange lightsabers. So, orange lightsabers. I think this is the first time in canon they've appeared. They've definitely appeared in Legends material and comic books that have been kind of retconned and everything like that. Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, technically, people will say Cal Kestis, but I mean, Cal Kestis' lightsaber color is something you choose. Yeah. So I don't think that counts.
It's an aesthetic choice.
But so traditionally in Legends, they were associated with Grey Jedi.
Okay.
So it was an interesting choice to see these two Force users wielding orange lightsabers, which kind of leads us into this next one. What are the impressions of the new characters? And not all of them are new, but I brought up their pictures here so I could remind you.
Oh, I had a quick question.
Yeah, sure.
So, I know that when you attune to a kyber crystal, it gives it its color.
Yeah.
If you change your mind later, does it change?
Yeah, so actually the way that Ahsoka gets her clear lightsabers is that she purifies the Sith lightsabers. And we've seen Dagan Gera do the same thing with his lightsaber in Jedi Survivor,
right,
where he has a yellow saber and he takes it out and makes it bleed to the Sith. So we've at least seen them go from established color to red, and we've seen the opposite. We've gone from red to white. So I would presume that when you're disassembling your lightsaber and you rebuild it, it can be a different color. And Ezra is the same way. Ezra had a blue saber.
But his lightsaber got destroyed by Maul, didn't it?
No, his lightsaber got destroyed. Oh.
Not that. It got destroyed.
It did get destroyed at some point.
No, it got destroyed by Vader, and that's when Ahsoka
Yes.
shows up.
Yes.
And when she dies in the Clone Wars, which is at the point where Ezra comes back later in the World Between Worlds, and pulls her out of the conflict with Vader. On Malachor.
Okay. You.
I just reread all 76 episodes summaries.
My point is that Ezra goes from having a blue saber to having a green saber. Yeah. But it's not the same. I guess that's not the same crystal.
No, it's not.
It's a different crystal. But I mean.
But if you were just using the same lightsaber and you changed your alignment, is it like a mood ring?
No, I think it. We know that Jedi disassemble and clean their lightsabers and meditate on them fairly often. I think that it would happen during that process.
Okay.
But I don't think that we've seen we've seen it go when it's specifically talking about a Sith blade, but we've never seen someone's crystal change from blue to green in the middle of a lightsaber building session. So that would be an interesting point.
Because if the Inquisitor stopped being an Inquisitor and just did other things and wasn't necessarily a Sith, would it slowly kind of change colors, or would it still be using a red blade?
I think he would have to rebuild it. I think the blade keeps its color when it's made, and then when you rebuild it is because Dagan Gera, when he went from yellow to red, he had to like pull the crystal out of the saber to interact with it.
Yeah.
So I think when it's in the saber, it's like stabilized in a way.
Right.
And then it has to be like removed from the saber to be.
But if he didn't do anything to it, it would saber.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So I wanted to bring up Morgan Elsbeth.
Morgan Elsbeth.
You might think that this is a new character, but you would be wrong because she was in The Mandalorian.
Yeah, she looks familiar.
Yeah. So there's an episode in Mandalorian season 2.
Oh, is this the one that had the
Beskar Spear?
Beskar Spear.
Yes, exactly. So she seems to be the one who's sending the Inquisitor and the 2 Grey Jedi after Ahsoka. So I thought that was interesting for her to come back in that way, and we see her a lot in the trailer. And she's like supposed to be an Imperial sympathizer, but I guess she's maybe looking for Thrawn. Maybe she disagrees with sort of that like Shadow Council that we see in the end of Mandalorian. We got our buddy Brindle and everything in it. It was interesting to see her again. So that's Morgan Elsbeth, who I did not remember, but thankfully I have Star Wars Database to remind me. Here's
Baylan Skull.
Yep. And then there's Shin or Sheen.
Shin Hati.
Adept at lightsaber. We know probably the least amount about her.
Oh,
so far. And then we have Merrick, who is now
Merrick or Marok?
I don't know, baby.
Marok.
Well, I suppose we'll find out. Maybe they
Fully
may not.
encased in battle armor.
Yes. Quite a ton.
He's gotta be the 8th brother. I'm gonna be so frustrated if they do some kind of weird weasel shit and get him to and make him somebody else.
Yeah. So those are those characters. What are your impressions?
I mean, I'm interested to see what the actual motivations for Baylan and Shin are,
Yep.
and if it's just mercenary work, or if they have a
alternate agenda.
Yeah.
Hidden agenda. I
would assume that it's going to be the case.
Yeah. That'd be good. That would be good
That's
story
usually
writing.
what they do.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, and then lastly, I know that we talked about like what we hope to see. Is there anything that you like expect that may not be something that you're like hoping to see, but like it's something that you've come to expect, maybe because of the history of the other live action shows? Or
I mean, I would like to. So, I'm going to assume they're doing this and setting it up for like another season. This isn't going to be a one-off.
Yes, although important to note on that note that the actor who plays Baylan did like suddenly and very unexpectedly pass away.
Oh shit!
Yeah, like a couple of weeks after Celebration.
Oh.
So that might change.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, that might change what they decide to do.
No, that's definitely going to cost some
Well, yeah, I mean, they could choose to do another actor and just have him in the same role. It'll be interesting to see how they address that. I mean, his character may not have even been planned to survive the first season. We don't know. But yeah, I think that's probably going to, alter their plans a little bit.
Yeah.
So that's unfortunate. They can't control that.
No, yeah, for sure. I mean, I think I would like. One of my favorite things they do in the live action shows is like address stuff that was open ended from the main numbered movies or like main canon.
Yeah.
And like or even if they don't necessarily do that, they expand on another concept. Like I think it was season 2 Mandalorian where they had that whole arc with the Pike. And like they expand on what
that
the
was very
hell
cool.
the Pike were.
Yeah, that's
because
very cool.
They showed up in multiple different. I think they showed up. I mean, I know they showed up in Rebels. Oh, no.
They were definitely heavily featured in the Clone Wars.
They were in the Clone Wars.
And you might remember them like fresher than that because they released like the lost seasons of the Clone Wars. And there was an arc where Ahsoka and I forget the Valdez sisters. It was a pair of sisters who got caught smuggling spice and they got arrested by the Pikes. So.
But like addressing that, where it's something that's just kind of like they introduce like a larger concept or a larger entity, but it's not explained. and then they address it in the live action shows.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't really know what specifically they could do, but it's a whole universe.
Yeah.
So
I would say, as far as like my expectations go, you know, I don't know what to think about the recent live action series that they have. I think that there's a lot of like ups and downs. I'm hoping for more of like an Andor or a Mandalorian season 1, less of
even
a
Mandalorian season 2.
Even season 2, and I do think that there were good aspects of Kenobi as well. But I would like to see like a really cohesive writing story,
Yes.
Beginning to end, because
consistent
some of them, yeah,
goals, consistent character aspects.
yeah, that would be nice. But Dave Filoni, I think, like, Ahsoka's his baby, and I think he wrote a good portion of this, like, start to finish, and has a lot more control over this arc. Whereas it kind of feels to me like Mandalorian season 3 was kind of a little bit like this. You know, we had a lot of concepts that were introduced that we had to like wrap up really quickly. And I think that Star Wars is at its best when we're kind of like just thrown into the moment and like we're experiencing something that's happening just like in a brief little tiny bit of time. Like Rogue One or Andor. Like, those series do not take place over a huge span of time. They are very, very singularly focused on like one goal. They're not spreading out. And like, my one concern about having so many antagonists is like, we have Balin, Shin, Morgan, Merrick, and Thrawn.
Yeah.
5 different antagonists to balance, which is very exciting for me as someone who likes villains a lot. But I would not be surprised if, unfortunately, we keep up the tradition of introducing Inquisitors because they look really cool, and then immediately killing them off because we have a different story to tell.
Yeah. I think something that Rebels did well and the Clone Wars did well, and that's something that is, I think, important for Star Wars as they kind of go forward, is that it changes. They kind of change their approach to how they handle the bad guys. Like,
yeah,
the original trilogy was very straightforward, right?
Yeah, we got 2 big baddies basically.
We got 2 big baddies. I mean, you could maybe argue the whole thing was an analog for the Vietnam War, and the Imperials were the Americans. That's a whole other discussion.
Yeah.
But it was very straightforward, and that allowed them to really focus on like kind of building like the aesthetics and like creating like this very unique structure for a world that got expounded upon later.
Yeah.
They've done that more now, and they've had a lot of the like straightforward black and white assessment of things. And then when you get characters in the Clone Wars like Saw Gerrera, and the rebels themselves are like terrorists, basically, right? Like the whole thing, the definition of a terrorist depends on which side you're on.
Yeah.
So like that concept and making it more of a nuanced approach to actual warfare and like fighting for justice, I think is an important thing that they can continue working towards and adapting it, because that's like what a modern audience is going to, I think, be attracted to more, because a lot of people are past the fairy tale version of warfare where it's the good guys and the bad guys, and there's a lot of overlap in between.
Interesting. I know a lot of people who say the opposite about Star Wars, where like they kind of wish it was more focused on like kind of the principles of the original trilogy, where it's like we have like a singular bad entity that we're focused on, and like sure we might have like bounty hunters pop up or whatever, but like
they're not bad. Bounty hunter apologist Marshall here. I'm kidding. Go ahead. Sorry.
His favorite character is Dengar.
One of my favorite characters is Dengar.
All right, who's your other favorite character?
From Rebels? Or
no,
in general?
No, in general, in Star Wars. We're talking about Star Wars.
Uh-huh.
Wow.
Bounty hunters. If you might have read, okay. Anyways, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
This is not an extended universe.
We are not going to shame anyone for their liking of very obscure and strange characters.
That's important for you, household. Isn't it? This is the other man I share the house with.
Right, we have my husband and my husband.
Yeah.
No, yeah. So, I think the one thing that's nice about, like, when we look at, like, the prequels, like, prequels really, like, Palpatine is, like, the one pulling the string. Like, sure, we have, like, Dooku working for him, but it's, like, we really have, like, one central bad guy in that. And that lets us really, really dig our fingers into what makes Palpatine so nefarious and makes him tick and everything. And I love it when Star Wars does that.
Yeah.
And so I kind of wish we had more of that instead of, like, let's just bring in so many people with, like, super cool aesthetics and you know, they'll be the villain just for this, and then you know, they might come back. Like, you know, we have Maul is a pretty regularly reoccurring, like, oh, he gets to play both. He gets to be the guy who looks cool and gets to come back, and we get to explore a little bit more of him. But I think in general in Star Wars, especially, like, post Disney, we don't really get to explore our villains in the same way that we did with, like, the original trilogy and the prequel trilogy. Like, the original trilogy is, like, very Vader centric, and the relationship between Vader and Luke, and then the prequels is very much about Anakin and Palpatine and their dynamic. And so I think having, like, an Ahsoka Thrawn, like, really getting to dive deep into their dynamic would be interesting, but I don't know if those characters are very well matched together as far as, like, you know, like, usually a very good, compelling hero antagonist dynamic is, like, you know, there's multiple ways to address it, but, like, maybe one who's like the hero but has gone too far, or like a mirror,
Right.
or something like that. And it's like, Thrawn,
No, they don't strike me as being, like, well suited to oppose each other.
right,
Because, I mean, they're both. Ahsoka becomes more of a tactician when she is the Fulcrum.
yes,
But she is still a very action-oriented, like, direct,
yeah.
boots on the ground,
Well, I think part of,
slicing and chopping on her own accord.
yeah,
And Thrawn is like a master tactician. Like, he is the guy. Like, if anybody's read Ender's Game, I mean, he's like Ender from
Yeah.
Ender's Game. Like,
Yeah.
the incredible intuition and knowledge of the enemy to guide all these different strategic pieces into place to win combat. And those two things, like, you have, like, a soldier and a general, basically.
yeah. Yeah, and I think that part of, like, season 1 of Rebels is, like, showing that Ahsoka has those flaws as Fulcrum, that, like, yes, she's learning how to fit into this rebellion and, like, you know, using information that may not always be great or correct and trying to do the best that she can. But, like, we do see that she, like, misses drops and things like that. She sends Hera and Sabine to that asteroid with all the Fernox and everything, where they almost die. So, like, she does make mistakes in that regard. So maybe that is a good sign for their dynamic. Is like maybe that is going to be Ahsoka's struggle in this. It doesn't necessarily seem like that from the trailers, but I mean, that is a side of her that they could explore. Is, like, how does she go from being like especially as the student of Anakin. Like, we know that Anakin is kind of like the lone gunsman. He is not like a team player.
No,
He doesn't follow the rules.
That's like every conflict that he has with Obi-Wan in the entirety of the Clone Wars is the fact that he's always running off by himself.
Yeah, I mean, and so Ahsoka is his student. So I would expect Ahsoka to struggle in that same regard. So that would be a cool thing to explore about her character, I think.
And I think it's if they take the opportunity, they have it where Anakin was really struggling with balancing his own desires with how he's been pumped up to be the chosen one for the Jedi, and, like, this almost, like, religious task he's been given, basically. Whereas Ahsoka has ditched the Jedi and now has a much broader perspective, but that can also make things even harder to decide because you don't have a dogma anymore.
Yeah, like, I like how recent media has kind of elaborated a little bit more on the Jedi, like, especially so we recently read the book Inquisitor: Rise of the Red Blade.
Very good.
It was very, very good.
I highly recommend it.
Yeah, we do. And it's like, you can see that there's some flaws in the Jedi especially during the Clone Wars, and one of those is that they too, like even the masters and everything, are like trying to balance their roles as like teachers with the fact that they have to fight a war. So they want to guide. The book is about Iskatikaris, who's the red-skinned Inquisitor from the comic books that we haven't seen outside of the comic books before this. And like her thing is that she is sort of a difficult student because she does feel that pull to the dark side. And there are probably lots of other Jedi that do. I mean, that's kind of Posset Dib's thing. That's a lot of Jedi struggle with that and presumably end up being Inquisitors or dead. But she is struggling and she needs extra help. And the Jedi are truly doing their best to help her. They are going through the processes that they normally would to help people who are struggling, like, hey, try meditating more, try peace, try all of these things. But they are in the middle of a war, and they cannot afford to keep tutoring her.
And they also don't go outside of their, like, structure.
They can't. There's none of them available to, like, really...
Right, but there's no...
What she craves is having that one-on-one mentorship, which is ripped from her. Like, she was doing okay with her mentor. Her mentor dies and is ripped from her, and now she doesn't have that anymore, and she's so desperately seeking that out, and no one is there for her. And then we have Palpatine's influence coming in to play too, and kind of like heightening those little voices in her head saying, like, you're wronging me, you're robbing me of something that I'm supposed to have, what I'm supposed to do. So that was interesting because it doesn't show the Jedi as being like bad or like they deserve to fall or anything like that. It's showing that like they want to help. They clearly care about her. But for the vast majority of the Clone Wars, they're just like a whole bunch of them died at the Battle of Geonosis, and the rest of them they're sending out to planets all over the galaxy. There's no one left at the temple to kind of be like, hey, let's talk about this or address this. Like, they're under-equipped to handle that.
Yeah.
And I think maybe in a different time period, they would have been able to handle that, but not like specifically as it happens in the Clone Wars. So I really liked that side of the Jedi being addressed. And we kind of have some hints that maybe we're going to explore that a little bit further in the Ahsoka series, because a lot of it seems to focus on how Ahsoka was supposed to train Sabine. There's like an implied relationship there. Now, in Rebels, we see Kanan struggling to train Sabine with the Darksaber and everything, because Sabine is a very like emotional Mandalorian.
She's a Mandalorian.
And so we see him struggle, but I think she comes away with it like she doesn't get very long training with Kanan with lightsabers, but like she does progress and she does learn things, and like we see her viewing the holo projection of Ezra. I keep doing that, and I have like a little Ezra. She keeps viewing the holo projection of Ezra, and he's talking about what it means to be a Jedi, to make the choices when no one else will, and everything like that. And then there's like this dialogue in the trailer that Ahsoka was trying to train Sabine, and they had a falling out. And Hera's trying to get Ahsoka to go back to Sabine for help with this issue. So that, I think, is also like another thing that makes me excited that there is going to be some like development to Ahsoka's character and Sabine's character, characters that we care about quite a bit. So and a thing that got briefly explored in a novel that probably very few of us read, that was very interesting. So hopefully we'll get to see more of that in live action. That would be good.
Because I honestly thought when we finished season 4 of Rebels, I was like, oh, I want to see these characters again.
Really?
Yeah.
Which is so strange because look at the Clone Wars. Like, we see the Clone Wars characters in so much. We see Cad Bane, we've got Maul, Maul's a clone. Anyway, we get Ahsoka, we got Hondo. Hondo's got an animatronic in Disney World worth millions of dollars.
I know, I would never have guessed that, but
these things are much loved by a great majority of people, and for the longest time, Rebels was like totally ignored at the expense of the Clone Wars. So I'm really happy that.
Also, just because something is greatly loved by Star Wars fans doesn't mean it's safe. But I am glad, like, regardless, I am excited to see a continuation of that because I think it's something a lot of people identify with, or at least I didn't identify with the characters necessarily, but I really liked the story, and I thought the concepts and like what they were addressing was really important and good to do from a.
And we love Hera. We're Hera stands in this house. We haven't talked about her that much, but she's in it, and presumably her son is in it.
Yeah.
And Chopper, guys.
My favorite character from Rebels.
Guys, how exciting is it? We get to see all of our friends again. That's the best part about this.
Yes.
Truly, that is the thing that I'm looking forward to the most. I know we're running short on time here, but if there was one thing that I had to say that makes me so excited to see the series, and it's the same reason I was really excited for Obi-Wan Kenobi, is like, good or bad, we get to be with our friends again.
Yep.
We get to be with the characters we love again. We get to talk about them again. We get to come on here and talk to people like you about them, and that is a very exciting thing for all of us. We get more merchandise to buy, to add to our shrines. It's great.
Our shrines.
Yes, Conrad.
I mean, it's in our house, I guess. So yes, it's our shrine.
We get to get tattoos of them to put it on our body.
Boy.
Yeah. So that's all right. Thank you for joining us, Angela. Good to see you. Congrats on the new car. We're wrapping up now, but we're talking about why we are so happy to have everyone back and get to talk about Star Wars with folks again. And we'll be back every week at 8 p.m. and every
8 p.m. Central Time.
Central Time specifically, actually across the globe. We have that power.
Okay, we will be.
We won't. We're not doing that. We have to work. We have to work on Wednesdays. It's the worst part of them releasing things on Wednesdays that I have to completely stay off the internet. That's the worst thing about Star Wars Wednesday. Ahsoka Wednesdays.
Wandor Wednesdays.
Ahsoka Wednesday.
Ahsoka
is coming.
God.
Guys, it's next week. That's also, fun fact, that's our wedding anniversary.
Oh, yeah.
Our 4-year anniversary.
Paper anniversary.
Yes, well, that's our first one. That's anyways, we were legally married on August 23rd, 2019. So 4 years together, and you know how many years Rebels ran for?
4 years. 4
years. guys, they did it specifically for us.
Okay. That's like fan service on a sociopathic level.
It's all about me. No, it's not, guys. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. So, we're very excited to go on this journey with you, and we're going to be posting the episodes to YouTube. So if you ever miss anything or late or anything like that, we've got you covered because we understand that we're all across the globe here as Star Wars fans. Very excited. We're across the galaxies, if you will. Very exciting. So we'll be doing this. We'll be doing this every Wednesday at 8 p.m. and then I'll post it to YouTube soon afterwards, so people who missed it can enjoy it. And then on tomorrow on Thursdays at 7 p.m. I'm going to be doing drawing streams, which I can only imagine that when Ahsoka starts, I'm going to have some great fresh new material to draw. I did try to do an Ahsoka drawing last week. I ended up drawing the eighth brother, so you know who I'm really excited to see. In that, if they
color me surprised with a shade of magenta.
Guys, if they kill him off immediately,
we're gonna cancel the show.
No, we won't. To be honest, that's my expectation of what's going to happen. If they manage to subvert my expectations, I'm going to be very, very pleased. So,
same, because for fuck's sake, please just have a bad guy last. Please,
Dave Filoni. If we can, hey, normally they last a whole under Filoni. Inquisitors got to last one whole season, except for the eighth brother. They normally got to last one whole season.
One whole season.
One whole season. That would be great if we got married for one whole season. I don't think that's going to be the case.
How many episodes is it supposed to be?
8.
8.
And the first 2 are airing next week. So then it will be 7 weeks of this. So you will get to see our
Just a 2-hour premiere?
Is it 2
We're
hours?
gonna have a 2-hour stream, so it's not gonna be 8 next
The
week.
stream,
is it?
okay. Yeah, it will be 8.
When does it come out? Oh, it comes out like midnight the day before, right, or something like that.
Midnight Pacific time.
Tuesday?
Yeah. So I mean, basically, it's too late for us to. Yes. Inquisitors do not have a good track record. Basically, it's too late for us to watch it on Tuesday. We have to watch it after work on Wednesday, but we'll still have enough time to straight. And I'll let you know if we're going to start late, but I doubt it. I gave us a good buffer.
I would say it's too late for me to watch on Tuesday, but if it was just you doing it, you'd watch it on Tuesday and make a stream.
I would. He's right. I've woken up at 4 o'clock in the morning before to watch stuff before work. I've definitely done that. We had a whole bunch of other questions, but we were kind of planning on making this an hour-long segment. Now, when it actually starts to air, we'll see how long it goes, because we may just be like so in love with all of the themes and the imagery that we just gotta,
Real quick. Favorite character from Rebels? Chopper.
Okay.
Saw Gerrera.
Chopper and Saw. Saw Gerrera started in the Clone Wars. Is he like but he's your favorite character in Rebels, regardless?
No, I mean he's one of my favorites. I think I'll say.
He was very good in Rebels.
How about this? Out of the Spectre crew, or out of not Spectre.
Let's go with Rebels' unique character, or like characters who are introduced in Rebels. Hera and Chopper. I would answer the question, but I don't think I have to.
No, you don't. You don't have to.
Do I have to pick a Spectre?
Yeah, pick one of the Ghost crew.
Ooh, it's so tough between Kanan and Hera. Are you expecting me to elaborate?
I mean, usually dead air on a stream is bad, so yeah.
Okay, fine. You know what? One really minor thing that I would like to see in Ahsoka. I think Rebels did a fantastic job with all of the creatures. I think of all of the shows, of all of the Star Wars shows, I think that Rebels gave us the most really memorable creatures, and with Ezra making connections to them all. I thought we really got to really have some in-depth time with the animals of the galaxy far, far away, and obviously as someone who's really into animals, that was very cool. So I would like to see that in Ahsoka, and it looks like we're getting Lothcats and Purrgil at the very least.
Also, Rebels is one of the most unapologetically environmentally focused Star Wars shows.
Yes, it's so good.
So, I mean, that's a huge. It's a good thing for Rebels.
Yes.
God, I can't come
a good point in
its
favor.
Anyways, yes. An Optimus belt. No, right. That's from that fucking Fall Out Boy song. Anyways, yes, it would be cool if they kind of kept that ball rolling.
Yes.
Because that was their there was all the mining stuff, all the mining guild, all the. I mean the Purrgil and the destruction along Lothal and all that stuff.
Lothal. We're from the
Welcome
South.
to Lothal.
We're
Anyways,
from the South, y'all.
I think it's important that they continue. If they can continue that,
We at least got to see a little bit of that in Andor.
Oh, well, they for sure.
Yeah, in Kunari. When
the place with the eye, right? Because they were the place with the eye. The eye in the sky. Place with the eye. Right? Wasn't it called the eye?
Oh, God. What are you talking about?
The eye, where they looked up in the eye of the universe.
Oh, no. Oh, okay.
Am I outside of my fucking mind?
No. Oh, my God.
Okay.
I need to rewatch Andor again. No, that was Aldani.
Right, but they pushed all those people out of their home.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it's
Thank
also about relationship of indigenous people to the land. That is something that's explored twice with Cunari. Cunari is the planet that Cassian is from.
Yes.
And it's all that, again, it's indigenous people, and we don't know what they're saying, and their planet's destroyed by imperial mining, although the timeline on that is weird, because is it separatist mining or what? And
colonialists.
Yes, exactly.
It's an allegory for colonialism.
Yes, it is. And so we got to explore it with that, and we got to explore it again on Aldani with the indigenous people being
kicked out of their like ceremonial lands,
Yes,
and
yes,
only being allowed
exactly.
to come back for
And they're
one
gonna-
ceremony.
And they're going to plow it over and build an airstrip. And then we also got to see it on Arkina.
Yes.
Because when Cassian and, oh God, what's his name? It starts with an M. His buddy.
I'm not doing
Cassian's buddy. Okay, anyway. Cassian's buddy and him escape from Markina, and they land on the shore, and the reason that the aliens help them is because, like, since the Imperial prison's been built there... Melshi, yes, thank you.
Oh, shout out. Yes,
yeah,
thank you.
Thank you. Other than Melshi, the reason that they help after the mining facility was built there, and it was like getting rid of all of their fish and their livelihood and everything, and that's why they helped them. So yeah, we got to explore that 3 times in Andor too. So that
more live action fighting. I mean, it's in a lot of Star Wars stuff, fighting like
I write
corporations
about it a lot.
that are
that
are raping the planet, but you know.
Please don't say that word on Twitch.
Sorry. Destroying the planet.
And
ravaging the planet.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think that that's an important aspect of the Empire that maybe the old stuff didn't really focus on that much, but is now more relevant now than ever. So, yeah, I think that that would be a great thing for them to explore if they do it, if they have time and can do it well. Please do that. But also all of the other things that we talked about too.
Go and blow up a big old mining facility.
Yes.
Can't go
Drive
wrong.
a Purrgil straight through it.
Yeah, sure, why not? Bring that well down.
Yeah,
Make that well smashed up.
Yeah. Revenge of the whales. Well, they specifically attack like the gas factories, right? Because they eat the Tabana gas, and that's what powers their hyperspace travel. So yeah, make those petroleum companies suck it, Purrgil. No. It's fine. We can take juvenile humor here after we just roasted how much we disliked watching 14-year-olds when we were 20.
Yes.
It's okay, guys. We figured
Being
out
self-aware
we
is
were wrong.
important.
We were wrong,
I was wrong,
guys. When we were teenagers and we did not like the younger teenager, we were wrong. Yeah. All right, guys. See ya. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll have this up on YouTube, and we'll see you again next week.
Ciao. Every